Well. Welcome in to another episode of ClubDub. What's up, guys? How we doing?
Doing good, man. Ready to go.
Great to have football back.
I'm not doing too great. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not doing too great. I think we all kind of know why. The man has returned. The man, the king of the NFC North, the best player in football is back. We're going to talk a lot about that today. It's day one of Bears training camp, which is pretty neat. We've got a nice 40-minute press conference from Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace. We'll go through that. We'll talk about Anthony Miller getting traded. Bears get a really nice return with that, a fifth-round pick. So pretty nice return for a guy who gets himself kicked out of a playoff game. Eddie Goldman, he's back officially. I know there's some concerns about that.
The most important returning player in the NFC North, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You're damn right. Eddie Goldman's coming back officially. We can put those rumors to bed that maybe he was going to sit out or something else if he was concerned about playing. But again, guys, welcome in. We are the ClubDub podcast presented by SportsMockery.com. You guys can follow us right now on Twitter. Go ahead and follow all of us as well. Kevin Wells, Eric Lambert, and Drew Cole. Guys, how was the weekend, first of all? And it's been about 2 weeks since we've last talked, so how are things?
Great. I mean, we have football back, and that's all I ever wanted, so can't complain.
There you go.
Same here, just trying to stay busy, and now with more content to cover, I'm definitely feeling a little bit better about that.
Yeah, I like your Urlacher background, by the way, Eric. It's a nice,
you like that?
It's a nice little change. I like it. Drew, nothing really to compliment about your background. So we're gonna go right into content.
It's my fiance's apartment. She doesn't let me put that stuff up.
Hey, you know what? Got to make her happy, right? Got to make her happy. So, guys, Rodgers reports for training camp officially today. I think we all kind of saw this coming. I was the one who kept saying he was done because I was trying to speak it into existence that he would not come back. But this is typical Aaron Rodgers. Not only is he coming back, he whipped the entire Green Bay front office and getting whatever he wants. We're going to talk about his contract details. Contract, I don't even know if you can call it that anymore. He's basically in charge of his own contract. What a conflict of interest it is. But what does this mean for the NFC North? This is crazy news.
Basically it means we're probably going to experience something similar to last year. The Packers are the favorites, should be the favorites. They've got the best quarterback in the division. They still have a really good football team, but we now have a end game here in terms of how much longer this is going to last. It feels like this could be Rodgers' last season, barring something totally unexpected. He wanted it out, and the Packers gave it to him just so they could get one more year of him to try and go after a Super Bowl before they have to move on to the Love era, which, given what they're giving Rodgers, doesn't really speak well to where Love is right now in his progress.
No, it does not. This level of desperation is, but it's to be expected. You have a Hall of Fame quarterback who just came off an MVP season, and Jordan Love, we all, I think, agree and understand was a reach. So I think the Packers are realizing it. They did what they had to do to get one more, as they seem to be calling it, last dance between Rodgers and Devontae Adams.
Shut up.
And
they haven't had one
first dance. Come on.
Yeah, I'm with
they
you.
haven't even had one.
I'm with. Hey, I said as they're calling it, and it sounds hilarious to me. But it's going to be interesting. But the reality is they are the favorites in this in the NFC North this season.
Yeah, no question about it. And I think a lot of comments here from like Jeff. I it's kind of hard to disagree. So here's the details of Rodgers' deal if you guys have not heard them already. So he completely gets to decide where he goes next season. He can retire. His 2023 year of his 4-year extension is completely voided. So for next year, 2022, he gets to decide, sits down with the Packers front office after the season is over and say, I want to be traded here. I want to be traded here. Or he can stay, or he can retire, make whatever money he wants. It's not even a contract. In what way is this even a contract anymore? He is literally like, this is what I'm doing, and too bad. I know that I'm the best player in the league right now, and you guys are going to have to deal with that. And that's exactly, you know what? He's right. Mark Murphy and Brian Gutekunst made the right decision. It's kind of hard to fault them. What are you going to do? You're going to turn a Super Bowl roster into, a third-place division roster at best. They're the third in the NFC without number 12 under center. They made the right call, but you can't even call this a contract. I mean, it is ridiculous. We've never seen anything like this in the entire NFL. Like, at least since I've started watching the NFL, a guy's literally like, nope, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and that's it. No other way. And by the way, he's also going to get Randall Cobb back, his friend. So, and he demanded that. And it appears that they're going to get him back. Nothing new on the deal on that front is it's unclear right now. The Packers are going to have to clear some space to get that contract. But Cobb's 31, 32 years old, only a couple touchdowns last season, but he's getting everything he wants.
As you know, go ahead, Eric. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Drew. I'll get it after you.
I was just going to say, you're right. This is more or less unprecedented, but at the same time, the Packers, Rodgers had all the leverage football-wise. He didn't have any leverage contract-wise. What I think really motivated him to come back is that the guy's going to be 38 this year. He's not, unless he's planning to retire, which he clearly wasn't, he wasn't going to sit out a year. He doesn't have that many years. I mean, age 38, you shouldn't be having prime seasons, but he's clearly still having some prime seasons. So he wasn't going to waste that. He's going to come back and play. He didn't have to. So I think, the Packers are, as they feel, doing him a solid. At the same time, I think he's doing them a solid by saying, hey, look, you guys are, screwing it up with Davante Adams. You guys have clearly screwed it up with me. Zadarius Smith might be unhappy. I mean, who knows what's going on in Green Bay, but they do have this one shot. This is their chance to, hopefully win a ring together and be happy and call it quits afterwards. So it'll be an interesting season for sure. We don't see, goodbye tours in the NFL the way we do in baseball or basketball, but it'll still be an interesting season. I think every game and primetime appearance and everything will be very magnified, but it'll be fun to watch, quite honestly, to see how they work around this from a team perspective. I mean, I feel bad for Matt LaFleurs. He's got a tough job this year.
No question. I mean, LaFleurs has no fault in any of this. He's just trying to coach his football team to be the best he can, and he's caught in the middle of a no man's land between Rodgers and the front office. So he has no place in this other than just trying to win some football games. And the fact that he wants Rodgers back, as we mentioned, pretty much tells the story on Jordan Love. Getting another year of development for him is, important for them. So Rodgers gave them that, but, what they had to pay in order to get it is pretty much, unseen. I mean, the closest we saw was what Tom Brady did with his own deal in New England before he left. But Rodgers managed to do it in like an eighth of the time. So that tells you how much leverage he actually had and how desperate the Packers actually are, because their cap situation is an absolute mess, even with the concessions that Rodgers gave them. So they know they're on the cusp of having to maybe purge a large chunk of their roster next year, barring something unprecedented. So this could be their last run at a genuine Super Bowl opportunity before they have to reshuffle the deck. So it's not really a huge surprise that they made the concessions they did to him. They just got to hope that Jordan Love pans out, because if he doesn't, what happened in the past year, 2 years, is going to be remembered as one of the biggest botch jobs that any front office has ever had.
Yeah, not to mention going out and paying a running back $12 million a year. You don't do that if you want to win in the NFL anymore. The Packers did that to appease Aaron Rodgers. You only have him one more year. Those extra 3 years, nobody's taking on that contract. Nobody's going to pay Aaron Jones when you can find running backs up the wazoo every year in the draft. I mean, that's not the way it works anymore. Davante Adams has already been on record. He wants 20 plus a year. So you're looking at maybe a 4-5 year contract for Davante Adams at $20 million a year. The Packers with the right, yeah, he's probably worth more than that. You're right. And looking at where the Packers are spending their money and a lot of their veteran contracts tied up in that defense, there's no way you're paying him that much, especially if Jordan Love's not ready to compete. If he's bad and you have to go, draft a quarterback and develop, and you have to find a random free agent, which is what the Bears did this year with Dalton. If you have to find a free agent to fill the gap for the next couple of years, you're not going to pay a guy like Davante Adams that kind of money. That doesn't do your team any good at that point. But here was Rodgers rolling up today. What do you guys think of his fit? I mean, this is peak California kid right here. I mean, great shirt. I mean, I'm an Office fan. I think not a huge fan. It's an okay show. I like it. But Kevin in the bucket of chili. I give him an 8 out of 10 here. 8 out of 10.
You forget the added part that they didn't really catch in the photograph is the flip-flops he was wearing. I mean, come on now. That completes the entire ensemble.
That's a guy who's making whatever 35 million or whatever it is, just to chill this year and then get another whatever 35 million or whatever next year without maybe even needing to play. So, hey, the guy made out well. He's had a good 24 hours.
Yeah, and with that, we had to say goodbye to a legend today. I was taking this one pretty hard. I don't know about you guys, but with Rodgers coming back, I mean,
here it comes. It's
really sad. The worst tweet of all time. Oh, how did I do this? Oh boy.
The drum roll was set, and you ruined it, Kev.
I made it the background, and now I can't even see. But anyway, that's a tweet from Adam Schefter that says the Packers have former Packer quarterback now. They formally released this man.
Oh, they released him. I missed that. Oh no,
yeah, he's gone.
No. It's really gone. It's really gone.
Blake Bortles is a free agent because of Aaron Rodgers. What a trash organization. How are you going to treat the boat like that? Unbelievable. Rest in peace to this picture, one of my favorites that we've been using to start this podcast off. Blake Bortles really was looking forward to watching you in green and gold. Maybe next year. Who knows how things are going to go. But, again, Bortles cut, so now the roster's back down to 90 with Rodgers back on officially. So Rodgers is back. Devontae's back. They're going to run it back for one more year. They're clearly favorites in the North.
Do we pencil?
Of day one. What's that?
I was just going to say, do we pencil in 2 losses for the Bears now?
Yeah, no? pretty much. Yeah. Oh. I don't know. I'm not there yet with this team. We haven't seen enough from their offense. They've made a lot of changes this year that we're going to talk about in a little bit with the wide receiving core, but I'm just not ready to say that they're better. Rodgers just has always had their number. Training camp started today. Pretty cool. In-person media, some fans in person for the first time, kind of getting back to normal. Everyone reported from my vantage point. I mean, Tariq Cohen's on the PUP list with an injury still, but Eddie Goldman's back. Allen Robinson spoke to the media today. Justin Fields got all of the reps in practice, is what Matt Nagy told us in the presser. Andy Dalton and Nick Foles were not there today, so it was all Fields, and he looked great. Any takeaways from training camp, guys? Did you guys catch any of it today? Any highlights on Twitter?
Everything that was covered in terms of the quarterbacks, it seems like everybody showed up in shape and well prepared. They did their homework in the month and a half that they were off. They got more acquainted with the playbook, so they're ready to go. There were no problems with that. As you mentioned, Fields had a good day of practice, and it seems like he's ready to go. Even though they're not calling it a competition, he's viewing it as one, which is very important in all of this. He's taking this very seriously. One thing about Fields that you'll notice throughout his career in football is he doesn't like sitting on the bench. So he's going to be fighting for that job, even though it's not officially a competition. He's certainly viewing it as one, and that's definitely a good thing. It's a healthy thing for the rest of the team, not just the quarterback position.
Right, and as we see right here, one of the articles you wrote earlier today, or yesterday, Eric, it was about Justin Fields and what Nagy had to say about him. You say he's ready to play right now. Nagy kind of left that door open today. He says that'd be awesome. We want him to be electric. He can feel it in the city. He can feel it in our voices. He can feel it in the fans. It gave juice to this team, as Ryan Pace put it today.
Right. I have the video if you wanted to show it.
Yeah, we'll fire that up in a second here, but I wanted people to get a look at your article. So this is not going to be, like you said, he's not going to hand him anything. There's still plenty of work to be done from Fields' point of view, and from clearly their point of view. Nagy has a way of going about this. He watched it happen with Mahomes. He was asked about the comparisons with Mahomes today, and he said a lot of good things. But Fields just trying to get better day after day. But yeah, let's hear from the head coach. He was talking a little bit about Justin Fields and his preparation for this moment.
Coach Flip did a wonderful job this offseason of giving them those homework assignments as to making sure that they're really studying what we did in OTAs, specifically for Justin being able to, as you all know, you've heard me talk about it, is making sure that he can get through a huddle call the right way. get to the line of scrimmage the right way, call the play, and make plays. What I can tell you now that we've had 3 days of being together in rookie camp is I was really impressed with the way that Justin came back from OTAs until these last 3 days of in and out of the huddle and seeing things. You could see he did his homework. With the with Nick and with Andy, same thing. They weren't in here today for practice, but they were the last two. Again, just having those couple months of OTAs and being here, you can see coming back, things are just a lot crisper, and that part I love.
How much?
I mean, you heard it right there from him. He loves what he's seeing so far. We love what we hear so far. But to me, it's still Andy Dalton week 1, no?
I think so.
As of right now, yeah. I mean, they haven't even gotten into the meat and potatoes of this entire thing yet. And that's going to be when the pads go on and in preseason. That's going to be the defining stretch in terms of this, battle back and forth as to whether or not Fields can overtake Dalton and whether Dalton can hold him off or not. So we're not there yet. But the fact that Fields is putting in all this work, getting better incrementally, which is always what you want to see. I mean, he's preparing in every possible way he can to prepare, and that's exactly what you want to see out of him. Now it's just a question of stringing good practices together and maybe putting on some good performances in the preseason.
Yeah, Nagy talked a lot about how he wants to be aggressive in the preseason with the starters' time this year, and I think it's a fair approach, and it's a stark contrast to 2019. And he said himself, look, this is one of the first times we'll get to see Justin Fields going against live bullets, real NFL speeds, another team, something he hasn't practiced against. That's going to be important and absolutely part of the evaluation. I still think it's going to be Andy Dalton week 1. However, today was a significantly different tone as it relates to, hey, if Justin Fields goes out and dominates, Nagy's response was that would be awesome, which, I expected. But he didn't push back on the notion that, Fields is going to be the number 2 quarterback no matter what. And none of that. It was all, hey, let's worry about today. Very stark difference. And I mean, it goes to show that, either Fields has really, really shown the type of development the Bears expected up to this point, or maybe surpassed it, or maybe he's reading Twitter too much. Just kidding.
I mean, you're right though. Yeah, I mean, you're right. We haven't. The pads haven't been on yet. This is exactly what Eric said. We're not going to really know yet if it's time for this. We're not going to know. We're just not. We're not there yet. As much as we love to joke about it, I want to see Justin Fields play too. I want to. We all want to. We all want to see him light the world on fire. We all want to see him take us to division crown after division crown for the next decade. But you know what? One step at a time. And they gave Nagy and Pace an extension for a reason. Let's see it through. So let's get on to our next topic. Again, we're talking day 1 of Bears training camp. We're going to talk about Anthony Miller got traded. If you guys missed that, Anthony Miller went on and got traded to Houston. So he doesn't even know who his quarterback's going to be this year. But again, this is exactly what you get, right, for being a complete bozo and getting kicked out of a playoff game. This is not a shock. We knew that Nagy. What did he say last year? We have no turds on this team. Anthony Miller acted like a turd, and they kicked him out. They got a 5th round pick out of him though, so a pretty good return, I think.
Yeah. Sorry,
it's all right. It's not just the fact that they got a 5th round pick, which is great in and of itself. I mean, Anthony Miller in a 7th for a 5th, but it's the team they got it from, the Houston Texans. Looking at their roster and looking at how they finished last year, and then you throw in the whole Deshaun Watson situation and the whole overturn they're going to have, there's a very good chance that could be one of the top 2 picks in the 5th round. And that could be very significant when it comes to the draft, especially with the Bears' track record in the 5th round. Bilal Nichols, Darnell Mooney, Adrian Amos, Jordan Howard. I mean, these guys hit in the 5th round. And then you throw in guys who have been picked at the top of the 5th round. Grady Jarrett was picked at the top of the 5th round. George Kittle was picked at the top of the 5th round. So this can be a very significant pick depending on where the Texans end up finishing, if they're as bad as a lot of people expect them to be.
100%. And I thought it was interesting, Ryan Pace's comments towards this trade. He said, I thought a 5th round pick would do a lot of value. We'd get a lot of value out of that. And He was excited to make that trade once that came up, and very lukewarm towards addressing really anything Anthony Miller related. He said Miller told us on the phone when we made the trade that he wants to make us proud and we want to see him do well. Very standard talk to a player about a player who was just traded. They didn't really seem to indicate that they'll miss him or anything like that. However, what I did find fascinating was they mentioned Riley Ridley and Javon Wims, both of them, twice during the press conference. They indicated both their names in separate occasions, talking about the wide receiver depth and who they expect to step up. I thought that was interesting, especially Wims, just because he had a similar incident that and he had the first one that was what the example was made of for the whole team. So I thought that was interesting. We'll see where Ridley and Wims wind up on the actual depth chart, but the fact that they expect them to step up and try to make a name for themselves in training camp and preseason, I think that's pretty notable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care to see Javon Wims play. I don't really think he has much of a shot to get a lot of reps this year. Just with the additions of Bird and and Mooney's emergence, who's going to clearly be their number 2 now. I mean, it opened the door right away. Once we saw Miller go out the door and we saw Mooney and his skill set last year and his composure in the field, we knew that he was going to be the clear-cut number 2. Javon Wims, all the best to him. I'm sure he'll have a couple catches here and there this year, but I truth be told, I don't care to see him on the field after what happened last year, and I just think this makes the job really hard for Andy Dalton. And I want to go back to what Pace and Nagy were both saying about Andy Dalton. This is a young receiving core, a disgruntled receiving core, your number 1 wide receiver. As much as he doesn't want to admit it, he was very professional in his interview today. He clearly wanted a contract, didn't get it. He's playing for another quarterback in this Bears system, maybe playing for 2 this year. This makes Andy Dalton's job very difficult. And I wanted to hear what Nagy had to say about him.
Coach, what parts of your offense do you see Andy shining
The number one thing that I see is the anticipatory throws. So in the passing game, Andy has all the leadership stuff. He has the stuff that you look for where you break a huddle, it's a little sloppy, it doesn't go right. He gets everybody back in, says, no, do it again, let's go. You do this, you do that, let's roll. He has that. That's easy. The football part that I see is his timing pre-snap of when he calls, with motion, shifts, adjustments, stuff like that. But then when the play's going, anticipatory throws, man, those wideouts know that ball is coming. Regardless of the coverage, he knows where to go, and you better get your head around.
So there you go. Anticipatory throws. That's something we haven't had in 3 years, 4 years.
No question. I mean, when you look at Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles, they're both the same type of quarterback, that sort of see it, throw it type of quarterback. They need to see the guy open before they unload it. It's kind of like Jay Cutler was, except he was more talented than both of them were, so he could get away with it. But, this is a West Coast style of offense that Matt Nagy runs. It's very dependent on being anticipatory, throwing with timing and rhythm, footwork, all of that. And Andy Dalton has shown over the course of his career, despite his faults, that he's a very good type of quarterback in that regard. So this is actually a pretty decent system for him. So it would be no wonder that Nagy is, very confident in his ability to run that style of system, despite, having some physical deficiencies that people have noted for, years.
I think, Bears fans are going to be very surprised about what an anticipatory throw looks like. They haven't seen it, to your point, Kevin, in 3 years. And it's so important in this kind of offense and being able to counter defenses, because, we've seen a lot of, smother the horizontal stuff and smother the short stuff and no real deep threat. Yep. A lot of, the concepts may remain the same, but the ability to throw to the right on time is something the Bears have missed. And that is a huge part of the offense. It's why we've seen it stall. One other thing I wanted, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think we're going to see a lot more conversions on 3rd and short and 4th and short too. It's not just going to be defensive players and secondaries are going to have to cover more than just Allen Robinson on 3rd and short and 4th down. I mean, that alone is going to extend drives. They're going to have more leads going into the 4th quarter. They're going to score more points that way. And then Nagy also talked about giving the ball to Montgomery 20 times a game. In order to do that, you obviously have to have the lead to run out the clock in the 4th quarter. I think getting more of those, because this is becoming a league where we're seeing more and more teams going forward on 4th and short, because the statistics because the advanced analytics say that that's what you should do. And I've been saying that for years, so I guess I'm just smarter than those people. But I you can laugh. Feel free to laugh. I was also throwing some great anticipatory throws off a boat this weekend in Minneapolis. We were doing some diving catches off the boat at my friend's lake, and I hit them in stride quite a few times. So
only where the receiver can get it.
Yeah, exactly. It was great. I was leading them. They were catching them. It was great. I don't have any video, so sorry, guys. I didn't want to play for the Bears anyway, but I'm too small. I'd get hurt. Anyway, it's going to be a completely different offense, like you said, with them being able to throw to more than one guy in a key situation, and guys being able to anticipate throws. It's going to change everything. It really will, and we're going to be shocked. I agree with you, Drew.
I did want to make one more point. Robert Schmitz of the Windy City Gridiron made a point about how the Bears' offense last year seemed to be kind of rewritten on the fly every few games because you had Trubisky, who is good at very few things. You had Nick Foles, who's good at very few things, and then you went back to Trubisky. And Allen Robinson alluded to this. There's been a lot of analysis that show that the Bears really did run two different offenses, and Trubisky couldn't do what Foles did and vice versa. And so the offensive line, the receivers, everyone had to essentially know two different playbooks. In this year, you have Dalton and Fields who can both move. Obviously, Fields is an elite athlete. Dalton is handy and can definitely make his way around a football field. And they can both throw. They have the physical ability to make anticipatory throws, relatively accurate, those kinds of things. I love that picture.
Oh yeah. But elite athlete, look at him, dude. Oh my goodness.
Adonis.
He's gonna truck some dudes this year. I can't wait.
But that's the idea, right? I mean, but now the Bears have obviously Dalton and Fields. There's a significant difference athletically and physically, but they can both move. They can both throw. Two things that Matt Nagy has said he needs or he looks for in a quarterback. So they don't have to rip up the system if Andy Dalton gets hurt or Andy Dalton, hey, you know what, you're not doing as well, let's put in Fields. It's Fields time. They don't have to rip up a lot of things and install a new playbook. Essentially, they can continue, and there's continuity for the rest of the team, and I think that's important.
No question about it. And we haven't heard from this guy in a very long time. If you guys are just tuning in, welcome. This is the ClubDub podcast. It's about our 10th or 11th show. Presented by sportsmockery.com. We're really happy to have you guys on. Please be a part of the show. Comment. We'd love to comment back at you guys, talk Bears football. We are 18 days away from the first preseason game of the season. And we're, I don't know how, it's really coming up. And then we're about, I don't remember how many days it is to kick off, but it's right around the corner. Less than 3 weeks till that first game. We're going to have all that coverage on sportsmockery.com here on the ClubDub podcast ready for you. Go ahead and give us a follow. But here on this podcast, we are stands of one player. We all love this player. Allen Robinson spoke to the media today. We haven't heard from him in a very long time, since last season. And he just says exactly what you want him to say. And I'm going to run real quick and go ahead and get this video started. He talks about his contract situation and everything else. So I'm going to go ahead and get to that right now.
Can you hear it, Kevin? Nobody else can.
Yeah, I don't think anyone else can hear it.
Nobody else can hear it? Oh, my
No.
fault. Should be up and running here. Well, 1 second then. We will try and figure that out. So I apologize for that. So that might just be an internal error that we have with that. But anyway, what Robinson was really saying is he's excited to play on the contract. He's excited to play for the Bears this year. He didn't want to talk future about his contract. He wants to win now. He's excited to play with Justin Fields. He doesn't care anything else really about what he doesn't really want to hear the outside noise. He's ready to compete this year. He has that little bit extra motivation. Obviously, with not getting a long-term deal done, he can choose to sign anywhere he wants. But again, this is exactly what you want to hear from a guy like that. Again, apologize for not being able to hear that. I'm not sure what happened there, but we'll try and get that audio to you online after the show. But again, this is what more can you expect from a guy like this? Just really excited to have him back. It's going to make a world of difference for this offense, especially if Fields does start playing and he's what we think he is.
Total professionalism. And, quite honestly, this is July 15th was the deadline. They couldn't come up, they couldn't come to an agreement. This is Robinson closing the book and saying, you know what? Fuck it. I have to go prove myself one more year. All distractions aside, let's go have a great year and revisit this next year. And he's taking no prisoners. And, I respect that for sure. I know there are some folks who believe that, hey, why are you being so professional? Because you have you could possibly get hurt. And the same thing happens that happened in 2018 before you signed with the Bears and coming off an ACL injury. What if that happens? But the guy is extreme professionalism, not in his character to raise a stink about it, other than, demanding what he feels is right for him. So I definitely appreciate it. I'm sure the Bears do too. And I'm excited to see what he does on the field. But to your point, Kevin, extreme professionalism, can't really expect anything more. And, for his sake, I hope he has an outstanding year.
And it looks like the Bears are really going to do their best to help him, really excel this year. That after trading Anthony Miller, it was reported that they're going to plan on moving him into the slot. And I think that's going to be a perfect spot for him because in the slot, you really need to be a great route runner to thrive. And Allen Robinson is one of the best route runners in the NFL. So when you've got him on the interior with Mooney, Goodwin, Bird on the outside, providing the speed to give him space, I mean, he has a chance to really feast this year.
100%.
Yeah, no question go for it, Drew.
I was going to say, the Packers have done it masterfully with Devontae Adams, and elite route runner, put him in the slot, it's unstoppable. The Bears are planning to try to do the same thing with Robinson in the slot, and to Eric's point, having that speed on the outside, I mean, that is going to be really, really fun to watch.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, he's one of my favorite players. I just love watching him play, and it's really nice to, he could have done the drama like Rodgers pulled up north all off season long, could have threatened to not play, but it was that, it's something that never came up with him. You can't say enough about that. The offseason distraction was not there. This team was able to focus. And more so than that, he brought Mooney out to train with him for a couple weeks. I mean, it's all you can expect from a guy like that. It's more so than what we should be expecting from a guy like that. I mean, he just goes above and beyond. Really thankful for a guy like that. Again, apologize for the audio. I'm going to see if we can get that presser online after the game. I'll be able to go ahead and copy and paste that so you guys can listen to what Robinson had to say. The first 4 minutes is what I was going to play for you guys. But basically just talking contract situation and things like that. So questions, go ahead and ask away, guys. This is one of our favorite segments. We love getting questions from you guys. Again, what we're chatting about today, Aaron Rodgers is back in the NFC North. He's back, the best player in the NFL, the reigning MVP. He's back for what many believe is one last dance with the Green Bay Packers. So this obviously changes everything in the NFC North landscape. The Packers, again, become the favorites. So love to hear what you guys have to say. Go ahead and shoot us some questions. Again, here was our rundown from today. Go ahead and ask questions on any of this. We got Rodgers Returns, familiar foe, that familiar foe being Randall Cobb. No deal official just yet, but it does appear that the 31-year-old veteran who played the majority of his career up in green and gold will be coming back to the Packers. He's a great friend of Rodgers. They were at each other's, or he was at one of the groomsmen in Cobb's wedding. What does this mean for the NFC North? They won a Bears training camp. Anthony Miller traded. Eddie Goldman is back. And we talk about Matt Nagy and all of their pressers. So, again, if you guys want to show us some questions right now, go for it.
Did you guys see Real quick before we get into that one, did you guys see
Yeah.
Eddie Goldman, the picture from the Bears Twitter account? Looks
Yeah,
in
I actually
shape,
have.
man. Very,
Yeah,
very
actually.
much in shape. I was very impressed.
Are you
Well,
talking
you
about-
want to talk about one guy who's really happy to have him back was Roquan Smith. I mean,
Yeah.
if you watched his presser, he was smiling from ear to ear when, the subject of Eddie came up. So, and for good reason, because when you've got a guy like Eddie eating up blocks in the middle, it's going to free, Roquan up to have some big plays, which is exactly what he's looking for, especially in a contract year. So no wonder he's happy.
I mean, the dude just makes
kidding.
such a difference. He just makes such a difference. Is this the picture you're talking about, by the way, Drew?
It is.
Yeah, I mean, he looks huge. I mean, and that's good. I mean, especially taking a whole year off, there might be some rust to shake off. So we'll see. But yeah, we had him. We had Montgomery came in. He looks great. He's also one of my favorite Bears. You got a little Jimmy Graham action here. He's coming back. Just a lot of new weapons on this offense too. That Graham has really had his fingerprints all over, especially with Kmet. So that'll be pretty fun to see Kmet's growth this year. That's honestly one of my biggest things is how Kmet responds, because we kind of forget about him with the running backs and all the other things that we've talked about with Justin Fields. Kmet kind of goes by the wayside and we kind of forget about him. But I'm excited for his growth this year. Will Deshaun Watson actually throw a pass to Anthony Miller in a game this season? I'm going to say yes. I think that he will. But who knows? I mean, the NFL said today, according to Adam Schefter, they are still investigating Deshaun at the highest level, taking it very seriously. But he's still able to participate in all team activities. He has no restrictions. As we saw earlier, I mean, he was working out with Fields and Jordan Love earlier this year. So I think he's getting ready to play. And that's as far as I'll comment on that.
Yeah, I thought it was. I mean, I'll take it a little bit step further. I thought it was a little bit strange that the NFL didn't put him on the exempt list, the commissioner's, exempt list or whatever it is. The allegations are ongoing, and I know there's been a lot of trade speculation ramping up recently. I don't want to get into that. I don't think it's appropriate with all that's kind of up in the air right now with Watson. But I'm a little bit surprised they didn't go that route. But that's all I'm going to say as well. I could have concluded it differently, but we'll see what happens.
Really, we're going to let the legal process play out there and see what goes on. Did Rodgers fleece his own team using his leverage? And what if it doesn't work?
After this year,
he absolutely fleeced them in terms of getting exactly what he wanted. He has an out in 2022 in terms of being traded. So that's the first part that was absolutely crucial for him. But also the fact that he still gets his money if he ends up retiring, which is something he wouldn't have gotten if he had retired this year. The Packers probably would have come after the money they had already given him. So this completely flips the script going into next year. He's like, okay, this time I can walk away and you're still going to have to pay me. So he has way more leverage contract-wise going into 2022 than he did this year. So that is absolutely significant in terms of who's winning the battle in terms of this stare down we've been having to deal with for the past couple of months.
Yeah, he made my sweatshirt not look fleece. He can't even put him in the same ballpark anymore. Cheesy, yes. Funny, I thought it was cool. It was right there.
Dude, it's the dead of summer and you have a sweatshirt handy? What's going on?
Dude, I got my whole coat rack right here. Got the vintage Bulls, got the peak coat, got the Bears hoodie. I keep the fits ready, Drew. Come on. I always got to look these.
That's the dead of summer. When are you pulling those things out right now?
No, they're just sitting on my coat rack in the corner of my room.
Gotcha.
I don't wear them. You think I'm wearing a fleece to work? You're crazy.
Dude, I don't know. Dude, my fiance gets cold if it's like less than 80 degrees. So
my room is actually moving into this new place with AC. My room stays pretty chilly, and I'm a big fan. It's a big step up from Milwaukee where I was before. I didn't have air conditioning, and summer like we've had. I mean, it's been really really warm down here. So summer like we've had, I'll take it. But no, I'm not wearing my coat anywhere. I have a brain.
I like that answer. No, I was going to say, yeah, definite fleecing. And yeah, it is going to be very interesting to see what happens next year.
I love this question. Sorry to cut you off, but I love this question. Is Foles still a Bear when the season starts?
This is a great question. I mean, it can really go either way because the thing is, the Bears don't need Foles. They usually run with 2 quarterbacks during the regular season and then hold another guy on the practice squad, as they did with Tyler Bray for a number of years. So I imagine that's what they're looking for, and they would prefer to unload Foles' contract through a trade if possible, but thus far they haven't found any takers. Now, the key in all of this is attrition in the NFL. Quarterbacks get hurt all the time.
Yeah,
so will somebody get hurt in the coming month or so who suddenly decides we need a capable backup just in case, this starts to get out of hand? So that's when somebody like Foles starts to look really valuable. It's just a question of timing and the right situation. And everybody's looking at the New York Jets, rightfully so. They have no veteran backup. They have nobody with NFL experience in their entire quarterback position. So of course they're going to look like the favorite team right now, but another one could easily open up in the next month or so. Besides, the Bears could still hang on to them all the way through the trade deadline in October. So they don't have to feel rushed in all of this. That they can eventually unload them. They've got time. And in the meantime, they've got a ton of depth on their own position, which is never a bad thing. So they're sitting pretty in all of this.
It's a hot market now, that free agent quarterback market. There's a lot of good ones out there. So, I don't know. Foles might have some competition. I'd take Foles over Bortles.
I would too, but imagine a situation where the Jets desperately need a backup. The Bears trade Nick Foles for, let's say, 6th-round pick or so, and then they scoop up, agent Blake Bortles, who gives them all the information on the Packers' offense.
No,
I couldn't finish that sentence.
Yeah, you can't speak today. It's all right. Go ahead. You get a second chance.
I just started laughing because Agent Blake Bortles. I mean, come on,
Oh, dude, yeah. The boat will find a home one way or another. We will make sure of it. This podcast is a Blake Bortles podcast. We will make sure that he finds a home. But to answer your question, Gene, I think Foles will be a Bear when the season starts. I don't think he's a Bear when the season ends. Again, guys, throw in your questions. We'd love to hear them. We got time for a couple more here on the ClubDub podcast. Again, news of the day. Aaron Rodgers is back. Oh, wait, we got another question. Here we go.
Not really a question.
Here we go. Who is Fleury playing for next year? Not the Blackhawks. I think he's playing for his couch, from what I hear. Mark Lazary, or not Mark Lazary.
Lazarus, yeah.
Mark Lazarus. Yeah, I said Lazary. Yeah. That's the Bucs owner. Mark Lazarus tweeting out today that Fleury is likely to retire, not play for the Hawks. Whatever. That's a bummer, but they'll figure it out. They'll find a new way. No, there won't be any salary cap retained, right, Drew? Like even if
he retires.
If he retires.
Yeah.
Right.
So, oh well. We're a Bears podcast.
What can you do?
I root for the Blackhawks, but we're a Bears podcast. I appreciate the question, though. Any other questions?
There's another one here. If Dalton gets hurt, does that change the Foles situation?
Oh, it absolutely
depends on
does.
when.
Yeah, it absolutely changes the
Depends on
Foles
when.
situation. I think immediately Foles would move. Yeah, you're right. If they haven't already traded him, I think he immediately, obviously becomes your number 2. Tyler Bray's not coming up off that street anymore, so.
Also, it not just depends on timing, but also severity. If it's an injury that might, be a couple of weeks, probably not. But if we're talking like a major knee injury or something that knocks him out for the season or even months, then that definitely changes the full situation, because then you're moving Justin Fields up to starter and you have a Super Bowl MVP, former Super Bowl MVP as his backup. Suddenly the Bears paying in that money doesn't look nearly as bad because you want somebody with that kind of credibility behind him.
Yeah, absolutely. I like this. What do you think about the Bears going after Xavier Howard?
I mean, I'd love it because Howard's an absolute baller, but in terms of compensation, in terms of money, all of that stuff, I just don't think the Bears are in the best position to go after Xavier Howard, because it's going to be expensive in every meaningful way to get somebody like that.
Well, their cap situation right now, the Bears cap situation is about $8 to $9 million in space, I want to say.
It's not enough. Nowhere close to enough.
Yeah, I mean,
even if they backloaded the contract, it still wouldn't be enough.
Still would be enough.
Yeah, I mean, who could you restructure? Hicks, they already restructured Mac once. Yeah, and I mean, you got to pay Roquan. Yeah, I don't know. I would love it, but again, I think we're starting to see this shift with the Bears are finally into the age of the actual NFL. They're in the modern day NFL now. putting more money into the offensive side of the ball and less money into the defense. You know, unless you can find a way to offload that Robert Quinn deal, which looked horrible last year. We'll see how he does this year. If he's bad again this year, I mean, woof. I mean, that's really a bad. I mean, it's going to be a giant black eye on this organization that already has a few. But unfortunately, it would be great to have a guy like this. But I think with contracts like Robert Quinn's and you still got to pay Roquan. You cannot let him hit free agency. I just don't think it's feasible at this point.
Yeah, and cornerback it's an elite position. Xavier Howard is an excellent cornerback, so you would be making your team better, absolutely. Now, if the Dolphins don't trade him at all this year and you go into next year, Quinn's contract can't come off the books, Nick Foles' contract can come off the books. You talk about extensions for Bilal Nichols, Roquan Smith, those going to affect maybe Allen Robinson. But the Bears do have more cap space next year by all accounts. So if there is a way to work out a trade for Xavier Howard, then you explore that for sure. But for now,
are we also sure that the Dolphins want to sell? Because I think they like the team that they have.
Mm-hmm.
No question.
Yeah, I think I'd be surprised at this point if they're willing to sell a guy like that for cheap, at least.
Right. Exactly.
But the thing about Brian Flores is he's not afraid to make these types of bold moves. They're not afraid to make big trades. You saw Laramie Tunsil. They've done stuff like this before, so they're not afraid to do it. It comes down to compensation, but also Brian Flores is a defensive guy, so I'm sure he'd prefer the solution of, can we find a way to keep this guy, make him happy, and we'd have two really good corners, and we boast one of the better defenses in the AFC, which you're going to need if you get into the playoffs against Patrick Mahomes, probably Justin Herbert, and all these other guys. So keeping him is obviously the priority, but if it comes to the fact that they have to trade him, they're going to get something decent in return for him, at least a first-round pick, probably a little bit more.
18 days until Bears football preseason. Bears football returns to the lakefront. We cannot wait. Again, that's less than 3 weeks. I'm really great at math. We cannot wait. This is it's a really exciting time for us. We've made it through a lull period. We've got a couple more weeks, but plenty more Bears content to get through. Thank you guys so much for hopping in to this episode of Club Dub. Again, we are presented by sportsmockery.com. Go ahead, give us a follow right now online. We're on Twitter at Club Dub Podcast. Go ahead and give us all follows. You can see our names right there in the bottom left-hand corner. Keep following us for daily content from Eric. He's pumping out those articles, keeping you guys informed. Even if he makes Anthony Miller mad, he was still right. So go ahead and follow him. He's a great follow. He's got a lot of stuff going on. So again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will talk to you next time.
You're saying there's going to be plenty of reps for Justin Fields in preseason games. What if he goes out and just crushes it? Is there anything he...
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Could he convince you if he's getting lots of reps and playing really well, could he convince you he's the right guy to start, or is that him?
There's for Justin, for Andy, for Nick, their job is to go into this thing and do exactly what you just said, is just dominate. And then for all of us to make it as hard as you possibly can at every position. And so we don't even get into that part of it. We just say, listen, go play ball, be the best you can be. And trust me, just like everybody in here in our city, I want Justin Fields to be electric. That's what